not even sure the word lucky is accurate. I think divinely orchestrated.
Yeah, definitely.
Heavenly arranged. We are very fortunate. And even though technically we are not to call him Reverend, I am. And I encourage you guys to also, because what happened when he took this position, when he walks through the door now, it's a very different experience. It might be the same or better for you, but he walks in with a ton of responsibility now. If you've not been through seminary, ministerial school, you know, he's been very transparent about his life and some of the challenges. And I would dare say that ministerial school is right up there, ranks with the challenges. It is one of the hardest things you'll ever do in your life. And he's been doing this while he's been working and maintaining his business. And now he's in seminary, maintaining his business and ministering here. Y'all don't kill him. Now, he's got 95 people that love and support him and that have these great ideas about unity. And we're ready to come up to him and say, oh, William, here's what we can do. But really what he needs is you to say, William, what can I do? Because if you've never been in your first few months of ministry at a particular appointment, much less your first appointment ever, it is overwhelming. And so you may look at him and see the same person, but what's going on in here now, by the nature of his position, is different for him. He is having a different experience. And what he needs is for us to ask, how can we help you? Not, here's what I want you to do for me. I encourage you to hold all these wonderful ideas you have for 6 months. And you forget it. If you forget it, it wasn't that important anyway. This brother needs our love and our support and your understanding that as he walks through this door now, it's a different experience than it was 6 weeks ago. Ministry can be the best and the hardest thing you do all at the same time. And it's nearly impossible to separate it. And he has answered this calling, following his path. And you guys get to be the beneficiaries of that. I get to be the beneficiary of that. And Reverend, we thank you. Now you may wonder why I'm using the term Reverend even though he's not fully been ordained, because he's doing the work. And what he's doing is hard. And just because he completes the degree does not ensure ordination. There's another process after that. It's like licensing from a state. So just because you do the work and complete the degree doesn't mean it's automatic ordination. But Unity, the denomination headquarters, have examined William and found him worthy to be in this role right now as he concludes and progresses. Eric Moreyman read a wonderful statement last week from the denomination headquarters of Reverend Williams' approval and his movement into this position. Their blessing of him. He's been blessed by you guys. He's been blessed by the board. He's been blessed by the former minister, Reverend Jane. He's going to continue to need blessing. Because if you've not done this before, like anything, we don't know the challenges. We don't know the hardship. And we can look at the 90 minutes here on Sunday morning and think this is a breeze. But you don't know what happens the other 7 days of the week. So I encourage you to love him with grace and compassion. Bless him with courage. Bless him with strength. And instead of asking him or telling him what he can do for you, ask him what you can do for him.
All right, already.
So I'm going to invite you, we're going to pause and do just a brief 2-minute meditation, just to sink our hearts, sink our minds, sink our energy, calm ourselves, receive the words that's been shared, the love that's being given, and the hope for what's to come being brought forward. I invite you to close your eyes if you feel comfortable. If not, you might just want to assume a soft gaze. You might want to envision roots from the base of your spine and the soles of your feet going down to the planet. You might want to feel light from source cascading over you and running through you. Realizing that we are a connection between heaven and with earth. I invite you to feel into the center of our chest, into that heart chakra. And just on a couple of in-breaths, bring light and energy from source down into our heart. And then on the exhale, going down to the planet. And then back up from the planet into our heart, then back up to source. That connection with Mother Earth who nurtures and sustains us. A connection to source, our higher selves, divinity, to God that leads and guides us. I'll invite you to open your eyes if you like. We'll kind of come out of this, but maybe staying connected and maybe staying in that soft, gentle space. Within unity, there are 5 principles. I don't know if that means, Chris. Oh. I'm sorry, what about it? Oh. Chris is aware that I need all the help I can get. And now he's shaking his head no. I'm sorry, what's... It's supposed to be up. Seriously, it is. It's supposed to be up. Those who know me know that I am a bit countercultural, quite clumsy. Starting over again. Thank you for being concerned, because this will be live on YouTube forever. And starting from a different point, we are wrapping up in the month of February this topic of relationships. Reverend William and others have been teaching about relationships. Relationship with ourselves, relationship with Source, relationship with those around us. If you didn't hear Reverend William's message last week, I highly encourage you to go back and watch that. It's probably one of the best I've ever heard in this building, ever. And so I encourage you to go check that out. Because what he shared in there were so many nuggets about relational dynamics and where we find ourselves and how we interact with others and how we often engage in patterns of behavior that we may not even think are unusual, abnormal, or even unhealthy. And we engage in those because they are normal. And we often find ourselves in a state where we receive energy and attention from those around us based upon the different dynamics. And we keep ourselves in states of distress and of chaos because it feels normal. And unfortunately for a lot of us, it feels alive. Today we're talking about living the practice, living what we're striving to do. The music this morning, as everybody knows, has been amazing. And Pete's message about keeping on growing is the core message of spirituality. Because if we're not growing, why are we even bothering? If we're not seeking to evolve, to change, to heal. Now we can all look for trauma-free areas, places where there's no triggers. And if I'm in a place where there's no triggers, there's not this personality, there's not these words said, there's not these songs sung, I'm okay. Well, man, you are drawing a very tight circle around yourself and really limiting yourself. And that's not what we want. We want you healing and progressing and growing. So when you encounter those situations, those people, those words, whatever, you don't react the same way. Because trigger-free does not equal trauma-free. Thank you. I just said that for the first time. Trigger-free does not equal trauma-free. So as we take this practice out into the world, how do we live and how do we grow and how do we respond when we are triggered? Do we blame others? It's the easy thing to do. You know, the challenge is, as soon as we try to live this life of enlightenment, the universe is going to say, oh, really? I mean, really, how many of us, we can be here this morning and be just as enlightened and raise our vibration and leave here just as elevated as we are. And we just only have to drive 5 minutes across the damn street to Costco. Which, by the way, should be the most sanctified place on earth on Sunday afternoon because everybody's coming there from their spiritual gatherings. Right? I mean, theoretically, we could just bypass this and go to Costco. I'm not suggesting that. But all it takes is something to knock us off our horse. And this is often called a mirror. And it's easy to think we're healed when we're like in our cocoon, we're in our isolation, we're in our aloneness, and suddenly you get around people and your shit will come up. Mine will come up. And we're like, what's happened? What's wrong? I thought I have done this. I thought I've healed this. Why do I still say these things almost involuntarily? And as soon as they come out of my mouth, I regret it. That's a big sigh of knowing. It's because we're all growing. It's because we're all evolving. And this also demonstrates the need for those on the other end, for us to have a sense of forgiveness and grace. Grace is defined as unearned merit. It's a gift. Can we give each other the gift of forgiveness? Yeah. Without having to earn it? Without deserving it? Can we just give it as a gift because we make the same mistakes and maybe use a different words or have different triggers or come from a place of different trauma? I forget who said this. I would love to take credit, but I'm not. When we strive to become better than we are, better than we currently are, everything around us becomes better too. But we are, challenged isn't the right word, but it is revealed. We have situations that reveal where we are in our growth. You know, those early mystics and spiritual gurus, they often go off to places to meditate, to dwell, sometimes to live. If you've been to Sedona or Shasta or other places, you know the energy there. But those places were often treated as spiritual sanctuaries of sort. You go for a recharge. You come back down into the world. Because the world needs us. And while the world can certainly accept and we can dwell in our brokenness, and there's nothing wrong with that because we all are, the world needs our healing too. And the challenge is meeting people where they are or in situations. And part of the thing that empowers us to do this is our passion. What lights you up? What brings you joy? Not something out of guilt or obligation or, yeah, there's a need or, yeah. You know, back when I was a minister and I'd ask somebody to be on committee or do something, I would say, you don't have to make a year commitment. Give me 3 months. And if you don't like it after 3 months, it's okay. Because here's what's happened. If Reverend William goes and asks people, will you do this? He's so kind, so compassionate, so loving, you can't say no to him. And you're like, okay, well, he wants me to do this. He sees something in me, and I'm going to go do this. Well, about 2 months in, you're like, this sucks. But you're like, I can't disappoint William. I can't go to him and tell me no. Look what he's done. He's gone to seminary. He's doing all these things. He's taking this job. He's working his business. I can't say no. I don't want to come to this committee. So you'll hang on until you burn out. And then after you burn out, instead of saying no, you'll stop coming. Because it's easier to not be here than it is to disappoint this gentleman. I get it. And that's just his role. Now, he enhances that, but part of it's the role too. And so part of our key is helping you find your passion and steering you to that, just not filling a seat. And I know that with the recent board selections, there was a lot of discernment that went into that. And I commend you. So one of the things that helps us be in a higher state of joy is finding our passion and what brings us alive. It might be a terribly adverse situation, but you may walk away from that feeling totally on fire, totally alive. And I might go in there and throw up within 5 minutes. Because what's for me isn't for you, and what's for you isn't automatically for me. We're all created different, and we're put into this tapestry that on the backside looks like a mess of strings and weavings that makes no sense, and then you flip it over. It's a beautiful piece. I've been speaking here for several years, and I've shared with you guys about my time in the Middle East. But I've not really shown any videos. But I brought a video today. Now, I want to give a trigger warning. If you've been in combat, if you're sensitive to gunfire, if you are sensitive to loud noises, if you're epileptic, and shaky video might cause a seizure, I invite you all to step out with no shame. This is a video that I took of incoming military from the neighboring country, crossing a border, coming in to do an incursion, Some of the time it's shaky because I'm running. Part of the time in one night scene you'll see I'm literally hiding behind a wall and holding my phone up to film it, so it's not great. So it's shaky. The audio's not great, but it's just how it was. So I brought a video of that. So if you guys can play that, that would be awesome. Do we have the audio? So what we're seeing is significant military incursion coming in and deploying a lot of tear gas, but also live rounds of ammunition too. This is an armored personnel carrier that's coming in, and they're firing. And if we had audio, you could hear the bullets pinging around us.
Look at them.
Time to go.
Go down, everybody.
Often when we find ourselves in various communities and various situations, I mean, this is adverse, this is extreme. But when we find ourselves, it's like, how do we bring love and light into that? How do we nurture ourselves in that? It was my passion to be there then. As I prepared to go, I went the first time in 2007 and then went back from 2012 to 2018. And as I prepared to go, I heard two things that Spirit kept telling me. Was just go be with the people And that was as opposed to I had been accepted at Oxford to pursue my PhD on the situation. And as I sat in a state of discernment about that, I kept hearing, just go be with the people. Because I was wanting to be credentialed so I could advocate. And what Spirit was saying, well, just go live there. Just go experience this. That's all the credentialing you need. The other thing I heard was be a voice for the voiceless. And there are voiceless all around us that need our voice. Now, that may not mean being on the street filming this. It could just be just showing up and loving people. It could just be showing up and loving yourself. Oh, that's the tricky one, isn't it? Because it's much easier to go out and help others, isn't it? Than to sit and say, oh, I need to stay home this weekend. I need to nap. I need to rest. I need to turn off my phone. Some of you know I do multiple things. In private practice, I work as a spiritual counselor and a guide and intuitive and a channeler. I also work with hospice patients, those preparing to transition and cross over. And I've said this up here before, but the biggest regret I hear, despite what we often may see in the movies, or if I wish I hadn't worked as long. Occasionally I hear that. But the biggest regret is I live my life for everybody else. And they're coming to the end of this time and they're sensing a state of unfulfillment. And they talk about, and look, I'm in this condition now, I'm in this bed, or I'm stuck in this recliner, and I can't do anything. I'm a burden on my family. And what I tell people all the time is like, no, you're not. You are still parenting your family, your children, your family. You are showing them how to die well or not. You get that choice. In this time, it may be the only time they experience somebody crossing over. You get to show them how to do that well or how to do it poorly. Because they think their life is over, but it's not. And I go on to tell them that what happens when they leave the body, they leave the bed, is in fact a liberation and a freedom. But there still are these things on the planet that prior to our incarnation, we chose to do to come here. We forget it. It's often called birth amnesia. And it usually takes us 40 or 50 years to figure it out. Seriously, it's because we're so busy doing, like, making money and raising kids and doing all the stuff. What I'm grateful to see is the younger generations coming in are figuring out a lot earlier. Have you noticed that? And they're not tolerating our BS. They're not going to work 50 hours a week for minimum wage. They're like, we ain't doing that. And you guys are crazy for doing so. And while they might be a little bit irritating, I highly love them and so appreciate what they're doing. But what we need to do is find out what passion we have, what dreams we have. Because your dreams are important, because unless we can dream it and visualize it, it's really hard to ever achieve it. Unity principle number 3 says that we are co-creators with the divine, that we are manifesting. If you've heard about law of attraction, manifestation. We are co-creating. Unity principle number 5 says, once you know the truth, living with it isn't enough. You must also live it out. Yeah, that one carries a little bit of responsibility, doesn't it? But that's what we came to do. And that's the fulfillment. But we often need to get in a state of dream and wonder and what if. In 1963, the Reverend Martin Luther King was in Washington, D.C., and he was speaking at an event, and he was giving a speech that he had titled, Normalcy Never Again. Normalcy never again. You might have heard of it. And he's giving this speech, and he's talking about freedom. He's talking about equality. He's talking about justice. And about halfway through the speech, Mahalia Jackson, who's seated behind him, a gospel singer, yells out, "Tell him about the dream, Martin. Tell him about the dream." And he deviates from his prepared remarks, and he starts talking about this dream he has. And he says, "One day I dream where my children will not be gauged by the color of their skin. Will live in a nation where they're not gauged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." And he lists all of these noble, corporate, earthly dreams, but he has personal ones too. He wants his children to have it better than he had. He goes on and he starts talking about freedom and this dream of freedom. And he says, when we let freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we'll be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black, white, Jew, Gentile, Protestant, and Catholic, will be able to join hands together and sing the words of that Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we're free at last. Your dreams will liberate you too. You living out the practice will liberate you too. And in liberating ourselves, if we're doing it right, and we're doing it holy, and we're doing it healthy and in a sacred way, it will liberate others too. Because as Martin said, until all are free, none are free. Namaste.